Hello, everybody. New library for Pigments is out. Yay! Well, welcome. My name's John Skippy Limcool. Welcome to a new live stream on a day where we've had an eclipse. I don't know if you guys were able to see it in a lot of European countries and stuff. This didn't go through, but here in the States, I didn't take this picture, but a friend of mine posted this on Facebook of the eclipse. It actually went full eclipse. Really, really cool. Saw some pictures from Texas that came out really well. But this morning, about 3 hours ago, we had this eclipse and it was lovely. So I want to get over here and see what you guys are saying. I haven't gotten the chat up yet, so hopefully I'm not just talking to myself. I hope you all are well. Hey, there you go. I see some names. Great. And the video looks good. Great. So welcome. We do this every week on Saturday for about 90 minutes or so. We play with new libraries. We play with new plugins. There's been 3 synthesizers released this week. So we have a lot to cover as far as that goes. Tim Dale has released a very cool library for Pigments. It is on sale at our website as it just came out. It's on its little introductory inauguration price setting. We've also got the library from Fred Nongot available for Dune 3. We've also got the library I did 3 weeks ago. Like each week we're releasing libraries. It's really cool. There's no library coming out next week, so don't worry. There's nothing coming out next week. But the week after that, we have some really fun surprises for you. So I will keep quiet about that for now. But this Halloween's coming. So that should give you a little bit of a clue. And I think I've mentioned in past live streams that we are working on a version 2 of Creature-esque, and it is coming out super cool for UniFi. That's vocal samples with really cool processing and some scary sounds and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, welcome. So this is a library that we're going to start right here with Pigments. Pigments is a plugin from Arturia. It's a very powerful synthesizer which has multiple modes of synthesis. Wave tables, as well as a virtual analog engine. It can play samples. It has harmonics. The sampler has granular settings and so forth, so you can do some really cool texturized kind of things. If I go over here, I want to go up here, date modified. Here we go. So here is the library, SabrePigs. And as a special treat, in a few minutes, I'm going to bring on Tim Dale, and he can give you an explanation for where this library name came from. It's pretty easy to tell, but we'll talk about that. But this is a library that Tim has been working on that is really cool, of inspiring patches in kind of the modern pop, meaning there's stuff for lo-fi and chill and techno and just straight ahead pop sounds and aggressive things and calm things, all in the same library. So there's a little something for everybody. I almost don't even call it genre specific. It's more inspiration. It's like you call up the patches. Here's the library inside of UniFi. You call up something, you play. And it starts you thinking about stuff. Like something like this, I would go over here and say UniFi layer. Let's go look for a pad. Let's layer something with this. So let's go like Lost in Thought. And already I've got a whole bunch of ideas for something I could write. So the inspiration is in new patches. And I have 90 libraries at my website, and each one reinvents the synthesizer that the library is for, gives it new blood, new inspiring patches, and that's cheaper for the most part. Some synthesizers are getting a lot cheaper to be released and stuff, but it's a way to inspire and get more from what you already own instead of getting too caught up in gear acquisition. You know, it is a sickness. We all have it. We love it. Anyway, so this library has 150 patches for Pigments. If you go into the library tab in Pigments, after you've imported it, you can click the banks, you can click SabrePigs, and here are all of the patches organized inside of inside of Pigments. And inside of UniFi, Tim has taken it farther by including all of 150 patches, but at the bottom are Z patches organized at the bottom so you can see them, where instead of just one layer of Pigments, which is what the rest of the library is, these are patches that are calling up, like in this case, 4 copies of Pigments. So you have these sounds showing the patches in use as a combination. And again, it's super easy to make these yourself, but there's some... And the real fun with UniFi is that it gives you access to a database of 3 gigabytes of samples, to DX, which is our DX7 synthesizer that someone else created that we've received permission to include in UniFi. So you have all these resources. So Pigments doesn't have an acoustic piano inside of it, right? But here is the UniFi piano, which comes with UniFi. Take that out, and now we're playing synth sounds. And then you add the piano, and then, like we always talk about, if you don't want the Guru Sampler's piano, you can right-click here and say piano. And I think we could go to like, let's see. Oh, there's so many different pianos. We could go to Piano Tech. Let's load that. And use Piano Tech instead of the Guru Sampler piano that's there. Hello. And... or maybe we don't want piano. We could right-click here and say guitar. Ample has some really cool guitars. Get like the M guitar, which is the Martin, you know. So just because these patches exist the way they are, they're designed for you to be able to change them easily, right? Hello, Don. Good to see you. Yeah. Thank you. Hello, Dan. Hi, Mark. Hi, Daniela. Greg. Zion. Tim Dale is here in the chat. Looking forward to learning about Pigments. Yeah, we'll cover Pigments a little bit. I haven't dug deeply into Pigments myself. I've worked with it a bit and kind of realized it was going to take a lot more time to get into it because of its layout and so forth. So when Tim told me he was working on a library, I was really happy because then I didn't need to necessarily get into it. Maybe we can ask Tim for some tips. I bet he's got a few tips there to cover. But if you go into, let's see, let's go here and hit the little X. This is the engine. Let's get to the synth part. As you can see, this is the little lights on for both engines being used. One is a sample, so we could turn off the wavetable. So there's the sample, and turn that one off. Here's the engine. What's unique with Pigments is it has all of the modulation sources down here. And when you select one of these, you can then go over to these guys and click to change modulation and so forth on it to get it to be modulated by envelopes and LFOs and functions and random and all sorts of fun things and stuff like that. Hello, Woodcarver. Is Piano Tech unified? It is not, but it works. Just call it up. If you go Piano Tech, we could unify that. It's just, I've been so busy with these libraries and getting them out and so forth. But if you click here, you can see the patches, and there's not that many patches. So if you if you guys want to make your own unified libraries, all that means is that the patches are available in Unify format. So what you could do is just call up any other unified library, because that gives you kind of a template. Like if you go to labs and you call up a patch and you find one that has, we've kind of like changed the layout of what a unified library is as we continue to, I come up with ideas and like, hey, this library would be cool to have noise box on the instrument layer and stuff like that. But all you have to do is call up one of the unified patches and then go Piano Tech and load it, call up your favorite patch and save it. That's all it really is. So you could say, let's say I wanted to do I did the concert harp, right? So say if I wanted to have the concert harp available, we could go concert harp diatonic and then I wanted to all you have to do now is go save, go to the library name, say new library, call this your Piano Tech library. The other thing that's really cool and fast to use is to do the saving as a layer. If you go over to the bullet here on the right, you can click and you can say save layer as a preset. And here, let's do this. Let's go save layer as a preset. It pops up. We can say, as you can see, let's see, where are we at? There we go. So here are all the different folders that we already have. I don't see one for Piano Tech, so I could say new folder, Piano Tech. I think it's with a Q, right? Favorites. Name it whatever you want to name your folder. And then this isn't a mandolin tremolo. This is the harp. This is the harp tonic. Save it whatever you want. One tip is if you delete the name on the layer, it will pop up the name that's saved in the plugin. So I can go over here and say save layer preset one more time. Piano Tech, to the harp diatonic, save, replace. And this way you can do this with any of your plugins, making it so now you can either take the existing layer and go over here and say replace layer preset. And this will get you to, where's Piano Tech? Right here, Piano Tech favorites. Or if you wanted to add in a new layer, like say that you were playing around the Unify library and you were on the pads, for example, and you found a pad that you liked. It's like, oh, I'd like to add something to this. Go to layer, add instrument, and instead of saying empty instrument layer, just go down to these list of layer presets. And here you can go to the Piano Tech, harp diatonic. This will, it will make a layer and it will load all the settings of that layer, including audio effects on the inserts. So if you were to have reverb or EQ, that's all saved with the plugin. So now, let's say I wanted to make a really dreamy version, and I'm going to use Valhalla reverb for fun. Valhalla, let's say shimmer. And as you bring up the feedback, you're going to get more of the octave shimmers. And let's turn down the mix so it's where I want it when I'm playing, right? And now we could go to this little bullet for that one layer, go save layer preset, go back into the Piano Tech favorites and save this diatonic harp and shimmer. So now I have saved a version of that layer with the shimmer effect. So let's go to another pad for fun. Let's say wood flutes. And then I can go to layer plus. Instead of empty layer, we go down here to our presets and go to Piano Tech, and there's harp, diatonic, and shimmer. So it loads up a harp with the shimmer reverb. So anytime you want to call up those presets, let's go back to Tim's library. We're in SabrePigs. let's say one of the cool pads, like here, this is like 12th Heaven. And go, oh, that heart patch would be really killer in this. So just go layer, down here, Piano Tech Favorites, Harp and Shimmer, and boom, I've added. And then here's a trick you can do. Hold down Option, and you can turn down the volume of all of the layers. This will turn down all of the layers together, so I can make everybody else a little bit softer, and then turn up the harp. So, as a tip for you guys, using layer presets is a great way to quickly call up your favorite patches from your favorite plugins, and you can organize them into your own folders for whichever synth you want to use and whatever plugins and stuff you want to use. Non-frame, a great way to create a library. Yes, in case, yeah, Yipes has a good tip there. In case you have too many VST non-unified, quick way to create a library where you put one preset by VST from the time to time. Yeah, Dice is a fun way to like randomly choose something like that. So that's, yeah, it's very good. Darren, what was Darren asking? Are the effect macros linked directly to Pigments? If you're talking about inside of this library that Tim has made, this reverb mix, you can right click to see that it's going into instrument 1. Direct send. I think that means it's going into Pigments. Yeah. Let's see. We'll talk to Tim in a minute because Tim is actually ready to join us. So let's bring him in. He can talk about this a little bit. Because yeah, when you go to these patches, there's cases where it says unison/flanger. He's going into the macros of Pigments, and macro 2 of Pigments happens to be set up. If you double click here, you can see that you have these macros right here, right? And number 2 is unison/flanging. So inside of UniFi, if we look at this, if you click the little plus button right here to add more, instrument 1, Pigments, here's Pigments and all of the parameters. And you have access to all the effect parameters here, but I think he went to the macros, which are at the top of the list. It says macro 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I say macro 4, now I'm changing macro 2 and 4. So if I open Pigments, and if I move this knob, you'll see that macros 2 and 4 are both moving. So you can access either the macros or the parameters inside of Pigments easily from within UniFi, whichever way you want to go. And he did it on a per patch basis. It's not like he did, typically for the unified libraries, I find one knob assignment and then assign that to all 300 patches or whatever are in the library. Tim is specifically going through huge amount of work to do it this way, but each one has specific knob assignments that are matching up to the macro knobs or to parameters inside of Pigments. To change all sorts of things inside of Pigments. So it's a lot of work. Came out really good. Can one access Pigments MPE capabilities? You can. You need to have a keyboard controller that's MPE compatible and turn on MPE in Pigments. But UniFi should be able to pass all the MIDI messages to Pigments to work with MPE. Hello, Alchemist. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. So let's bring on Tim so we can say hello and talk about the building of the library. Hi, Tim. Oh, you're muted. He had it muted for the start. So
yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Hello, my friend.
Accidentally interrupt the introduction.
It's all good. It's all good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
How's the weather in the UK today?
Actually sunny today, so which is unusual where I live.
Well, too bad that eclipse didn't. I don't think the eclipse went over the UK.
No, we didn't have one.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be. See, here in Portland, it's cloudy, so it got dark. But we couldn't see the actual shape of the eclipse through the clouds here. But I have a lot of friends that got that. levels.
Yeah.
Can you get your microphone a little closer? People are asking for.
Am I too quiet?
A little quiet. Yeah.
Hold on.
We'll do our best. This is amateur show. So
audio setting. Hold on. I shall. Oh. And my microphone level is actually almost full. So I'll just
okay.
put it right up.
We'll crank that puppy up all the way.
Oh, no, it won't go up any higher. So
it's fine. It's fine. Welcome.
I shall speak loudly.
Speak loud and bold. That's
speak
right.
Loud and clear.
So talk to us a little bit about this library. What was the driving force behind, and I think an interesting one is the name. Where's the name come from?
Right. Well, yeah. So the name is a combination of my company name, which is Saber Sounds.
Yes.
And Pigments. So as soon as I started, that became its sort of working title of the project.
Yes.
And then I just couldn't think of anything better. It just kept coming back to that one. And it was so much fun.
Yes.
I thought I'd do it. So
for those of you that don't know, Tim did artwork that is in the video walkthrough, and you've seen the album cover. Let's see here. Let me show some of the other cute. He actually came up with a whole series of. Let's see here. Let's go over here. Let's show the team with the logo and the artwork. So the army of sound alchemists and so forth. And then also here is, I love the two pigs in their outfit. I've just started playing Assassin's Creed's new game, Mirage. And so this looks like guards that you have to go around and sneak around and get. So it's very lovely. Well, what? So
yeah, I don't think I've ever told you how I got the name of the company.
Yes, talk to us about the name of the company.
Yeah, because it's not actually, even though I'm a massive Star Wars fan, it's not a Star Wars reference.
Right, for the lightsabers, right?
Yeah, not lightsabers. And this actually goes back to the 80s, in the early days of home computers. And one of the biggest companies for computer games was a company called Ultimate Play the Game. And they came up with a range of games that included a character called Saberman. And so he's a little guy who looks almost like it was supposed to be a person, but I think it looked like a teddy bear wearing a pith helmet and carrying a sword.
Oh my!
And he was the character you played in many of the games, and he played in a famous game called Saberwolf, which came out on things like the
I've heard that
Spectrum and other computers. And that Saberwolf actually is my online role-playing name if I'm playing online role-playing games.
Oh my gosh, Saberwolf!
Saberwolf. So that's where the company name came from. But what I'm surprised about, John, is that you've never had pigs in your stuff before. Because
I know.
Letters of plug and guru.
I know. That's the other thing, is it ties in with plug and guru, PIGS, in a way. So yeah, well, pigs kind of has a negative message to some people,
well,
for the police and the past.
But not when they're this cute though.
No, not when they're cute like this. No, but it's wonderful. It's great. I always thought saber was like an old name, because I think like in the 1700s, the swords were sabers.
Yeah, they had well, there are still sabers. They're a particular type of sword.
A type of sword. So
yes, I have actually had people complain and say that the swords we have in our artwork are not sabers. Because people who know these things.
Because the saber flanges more, right? It's got a little bit more of a shape to it.
It normally has a slight curve to it. So.
Yes. I like those swords. Those are, a lot of times, those are the bonuses you get in a game later on in the game to find a saber.
But that's how seriously some people take these things.
Yes. Well, talk to us a little bit about Pigments. What do you find that you like about Pigments, and what was the fire was it to learn Pigments? That's usually why we start these libraries, right?
Because obviously I've done a lot of stuff with Omnisphere, done a lot of stuff with Unify. And there's loads and loads of new great software instruments out there. And so over the years, I have tried to get into some other instruments. Like I bought Spire and never really connected to it. Yeah. Never really sort of managed to click with it. Yeah. And I got Pigments and I just sort of clicked with it immediately.
Oh, okay.
And in terms of just so I'm actually producing sounds for a number of other soft synths at the moment, but Pigments was the one that really took off, because it's very inspiring, very easy, and there's, especially with version 4 now, people are familiar, that they've kept adding engines to it. So it's now got 4 different oscillator engines.
Yeah.
And between them, the range of sounds you can produce is just incredible. So
yeah.
So
well,
yes,
it was very fun to play through the library, and it's very inspiring. And I mean, it's far better than buying a new synthesizer in a lot of cases, to just buy more sounds that like explored in different directions what you already own.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the benefit of this, is that it gives you all this new fresh blood for a synth that you want to play with more, it's like, I bought this, I want to do more with it. And here's these sounds that you can start with and then work with and change and modify. It's great. Awesome. Let's see here. We don't know. What we don't know is where Skippy came from. That's a nickname I got when I was working at Korg, and I did a product demonstration, and one of the other sales product specialists said, "You don't act like a John, you act like a Skippy." And I fought it for a long time and gave up and started making libraries with Skippy and say Skippy in my video introductions now, just because why not? John is kind of boring. So, Saberwolf is a far more interesting name. I'm going to start calling you Saberwolf now, or Wolfie. Not equating the insane sequencers in Pigments. Yes. Pigments has the arpeggiator and sequencers and all sorts of things. What parts of Pigments did you enjoy the most?
Don't know. I've got Pigments up in front of me here, so that's why I'm looking into
the reminder, you know.
Yes, just when you suddenly said a minute ago that perhaps I can give you some hints. I was just looking up thinking, what can I give hints on? But there are some great things in there. I think just playing with sort of the range of engines, really. I mean, the effects and sequencer are all very cool as well. So I mean,
it's so pretty complete powerhouse. Really is.
It is. I mean, it is incredibly powerful. I mean, everyone loves the Mini Freak that's out now. You can get both software and hardware by Arturia, but I think Pigments is more powerful than both of those.
Yes,
so it's
totally agree.
It is an amazing synth now. So and it's just like I find it's one of those things where I'm sitting there and I can't say, I wish I could do that, but I can't, because there's just so much in there you can do. So it's
good. Well, you explored the range of it very nicely, and there's so many different sounds of different genres and so forth. So yeah. Any other questions for Mr. Tim Dale on the Pigments library? It came out so nice. It was fun to go through, because I'd gone through some of the patches and so forth, but there's not time to go through every one before I release some of these sometimes. And so it's always a fun surprise to call up and go, that's really fun. Wow, you can, and especially once you start getting into the knobs, and the mod wheel can do some really just crazy things at times. So it's very, very fun.
I wanted to, I was thinking I might do a video walkthrough of all the Pigments patches, actually in Pigments itself, and then realized that would probably take about 2.5 hours. Long.
It's so funny, because the world is so used to these 1-minute videos that it's like, I don't know if people will watch. Like, if you watch the video walkthrough, at the very end, there's actually one of Tim's demos with like some of these images and stuff are included. I don't know if many people get to the end of it to see that, because everybody's such a short attention span. Hey, Simeon's here. Welcome, Simeon. Good to see you, my friend. We'll have to get this library to you so you can play with it. I don't know if you have Pigments or not. Let me know. Tim, anything else coming soon?
Yes. So I'm still working on lots of things at once. So obviously my last library was Dark Forces.
Yes.
So I've got Dark Forces Volume 2 is coming out soon, hopefully. It's the Omnisphere side is done.
Okay.
I haven't finished doing the unifying yet, so
so
I've still got to create Unify multis, and I'm working on a Unify library as well, and I'm doing stuff with the ESC.
Right.
As well.
Right.
So for those who don't know, the European Sound Collective.
Yes, with Bernie Huber at the helm. Yes, and we'll be all rooming in March or April, I guess, for Super Booth. I'm coming over to
May, isn't it? May, I think.
Is it May? Whenever it is, I will be there.
Yes,
I'm going this year.
Looking forward to that. Because actually, I've just had 2 shows in the UK in 2 Saturdays running. We've just had Synth Fest UK, and the week before that we had Machina Bristonica, which is hoping to become sort of the UK super booth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we've just had those 2 shows in 2 weeks, so we are.
Oh, wow. I would love a reason to come to the UK. That would be fun. So
yeah, next year the Bristonica, which is in Bristol in the UK, is going to be 2 days next year because they realised they had far too much trying to cram in 1 day. So
right.
Yeah, that was so yeah, so it's just been a heck of a couple of weeks.
Wow. Yeah, it's very synth heavy.
Yeah, so, yes, I'm full of synths, full of inspiration at the moment. So yes, there will be more stuff coming. Yeah.
Yes. So Alan BG asked, the patches work independently in Pigments? Absolutely. It was first made in Pigments, and the library comes with a folder that has just the Pigments patches. And then there's a separate Unify version that you can load if you own Unify. So,
and worth saying, as you just picked up there, if you're running Pigments, down in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got the 4 macro knobs.
Yes.
Which obviously you can map to your controller as well. Right. So on all the patches, between 2 and 4 of those knobs are implemented.
Right.
And actually make some quite drastic changes. So you've got the mod wheel and you've got the 4 macros. And then in the unified versions of the patches, all those macros are mapped onto the macro knobs at the bottom.
Right.
So any that are in use are mapped down there.
Right.
So
great.
Yeah, as you're going through, even in Unify, don't forget to play with those because they're quite. It can make some quite drastic changes.
Yes. Yes. And as someone is saying, if you don't own Pigments, hold off. Don't buy it today because Black Friday is just a month or so away.
Oh yeah.
And Arturia is one of the companies, just like us, everybody does a little something special and sweet to do sales and so forth when it gets to be Black. Yeah, you can get for 50 euros. But when it first came out, it was a very affordable synth to get in the whole scheme.
Yeah, I think I got mine in the sales at some point, but it is definitely worth it. It's definitely a great synth.
Yes. Well, thank you for all that you do. This is, by the way, like, I think library number 7, right?
I was trying to work out 8, I think.
Or 8. Right, because Dark Forces. I forgot about Dark Forces. That was the 5th one for Omnisphere. So there's 5 for Omnisphere.
6 for Omnisphere. SabreSphere 1 and 2, OmniX 1 and 2, Tetrisonics, and Dark Forces. Okay,
holy cow, I've lost count myself. 6 libraries for Omnisphere 2, as well as the SabreSphere for Unify. SabrePi.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting the names of everything myself.
SabrePi for Unify.
SabrePi for Unify. And now we have SabrePigs for Pigments. So
yes.
It's
Did you want a little hint or programming tip on Pigments?
Yes. Give us some tips.
Yeah, I was going to say that because one of the things that's really I've used in quite a few patches there. Can you bring up Pigments on the screen?
Yes, I'll block your interface. We'll put you into the corner a little bit so we see.
Yeah, it's fine. Is the
Okay, I wish I could get myself.
Because when we do patches in Omnisphere, one of the things you can obviously do is if you've got an envelope or an LFO, you can modulate the depth of the LFO or envelope, say with the mod wheel.
Right.
But in a lot of other synthesizers, you can't do that. But Pigments has got something even more powerful, and that's the combinators. So that's the 3 and
right.
The combinate. If you click on the combinate tab down the bottom.
Right. So you can say mod sources, type the source.
Yes, if you go into the combinate tab just below, so you can and what you can actually do there
let's call some of your patches
you can map things together. So if you go, for instance, in the library, if you go into the patch BPM arc cruising height.
Let's see, let's go to the library, thanks to SabrePigs, BPM, which one?
BPM arc cruising height.
Cruising height, okay. Yep, so we have random assigned to the mod wheel.
Yeah, so what you see there is that on the first combination there, we're multiplying the band 1 with the mod wheel, which means as you put the mod wheel up, you basically get that signal through, which you can then send that to something else.
Right.
So where you can combine multiple things. And if you look at Combinate 3, it's got a remap function.
Right.
So you can map one thing to another, but you don't have to have a straight line map. You can have sort of
right. You can do curvatures and breaks and all that kind of stuff.
So,
right.
All sorts of ways. So incredibly powerful. So that's actually used on quite a few of the patches to get some of the more interesting modulations.
Right. And so you can use that, then modulate like that you did. If we could combine over here,
it's like,
you can see his filter cutoff, make it even more drastic. So now when you bring up the mod wheel, now it brings in a random. You can invert it the opposite direction. Let's go to the filter, and let's see if we go to the synth engine itself, to the filter. Now you can really hear it. So here's, without the mod wheel, it's just one sound. As you bring up the mod wheel, see the filter start to dance. It's doing a random dance of random. So what it does is it allows you to route something to a real-time controller like mod wheel that doesn't change. You know, that brings in and lets it expand the value of something else. So that kind of, Korg does stuff like this with there's wave states and with mod wave and so forth. It's very powerful to have this. You can also use it for not just multiply, but for lags. I love lag processors. This allows you to like envelope slow down so that you can make it so that your mod wheel, when it moves the filter cutoff, it's not immediate, it's slow. We actually have that inside of Guru Sampler for the filter and so forth like that. So all those, that's great. Yeah, Combinator is a very fun power user tool to get more out of your modulation sources and how they interact, and not that it's always there, but you can actually limit them to like mod wheels and aftertouch and so forth like that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things in there.
Yes. Well, it's one of those things where a lot of people buy these libraries to learn by playing the patches and then go like, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? You know, this is dancing around by the filters, so you can, you know, figure out what's going on and what's doing it. This is doing, I believe, LFO2. So, you know, you see something dancing. It's like, what is this doing? So you click here and you can see what it's assigned to.
Yeah.
And play
another
with it.
Interesting one is like you got on screen there is in the sample engine. You don't just have to be limited to one sample. You can load up to 6.
Right.
And you can then step through those. You can have them step through round robin, random, alternating. So you can almost do like wave sequencing effects,
right,
as well. So
right,
very,
that's very powerful.
very powerful.
Wow, cool, deep stuff. So fun. Okay. Any other questions? Let me get back to the chat really quick and see if anybody else has popped up anything. Oh, good. Thank you for those of you that are buying the library. We appreciate it. We appreciate your support. Keeps us doing what we love to do to earn a little money from it. So thank you. Right? Good stuff. There are great. Yeah, that's a lot of it. Is you can learn from what Tim knows with synthesizer programming by analyzing somebody's patches. You can kind of like deconstruct them. I should do a video on how to deconstruct patches. And you know, what's helpful with Pigments is it shows you the modulation sources in the middle of the interface. And so when you click on one of these, it will show you the list of what's currently assigned to that. So you can go, oh, it's doing the wavetable position, the wavetable volume, and unison. And then you can double click and set these to 0. And go, that's without that. And then bring back up the intensity. And I think you can click here and reassign the modulation. So you could go here and choose something else that you want to reassign it to. It's very, very powerful. So it's a great education on synth programming to study the patches and see how they work and stuff like that. Well, thank you, sir, for making this library available to everybody. And it's Always a joy to have a new Tim Dale library to share with everybody. So
yeah, so someone's just asked the question: is that a VL70M on the shelf? Yes, it is. This is a new acquisition. I've only arrived a few days ago. I haven't it's only been turned on once so far. I'm now I'm a real musician. I actually do have something by Yamaha and something by Roland here. You see
there you go.
on the shelf.
There you go. You have to have
because most of my equipment is Korg, so
right.
So it's something from the
now you have all three of the big Japanese companies covered. Yeah, the VL70 is great. Some of the virtual patches and stuff that cover the winds and the brass and so forth. Very, very fun.
Yeah, and this is another interesting new toy here as well, which is the EOWave Quadrant ID Swarm, and this is a synthesizer that I met at Super Booth.
Yes,
and they had it out in the woods, and it wasn't being played to a loudspeaker. They had it wired to a gong, and it sounded incredible.
Wow!
And I'm glad I grabbed one of these because they've now had to stop manufacturing them, unfortunately, or that temporarily at least have anyway because of parts problems. But may come back. It is an amazing sounding machine. So.
And have you hooked it up to a gong?
No, I don't have a gong to hand, unfortunately. But there are actually been making samples from that.
Right.
In some upcoming libraries. So.
Yeah. No, the things you see in a sound designer studio, those are all cows in the field. Yeah. Go out and get some milk from them and turn it into some butter, some cheese, some fine delicacies to enjoy. Someone asking about Dark Forces 2. Dark Forces 2 will require Omnisphere 2 probably because the samples start inside. He's loading them into Omnisphere 2 and making the patches in Omnisphere 2. And then, that will still require Omnisphere to work.
Yeah, but I'm working on a UniFi only library as well. So.
Oh, good.
So there will be a UniFi library coming out as well.
So using some of those Dark Forces samples and so forth?
It will actually be using some of the same samples, yeah. So
great.
Because of actually the sample collection I put together for Dark Forces, I think it's up to about 400 samples, but the volume 1 only used 80 of them, I think.
Right.
So there's a lot still to use.
A lot more cows in the pasture.
Yeah.
Well, get back to work. What are you doing? Get back to work, man. It's awesome. Well, thank you very much. Cows, pigs. Exactly.
Yeah, it's full farmyard here.
Yes. Well, thank you, Tim. Good to see you and touch base. Keep doing your creative thing, and we're happy to support you all we can. So, thank you. All right. We're going to say goodbye here and continue on with everything else we have to cover in the show. I'm running out of time.
And I'll be on the live stream if anyone has any other questions.
Yes.
On the chat, sorry.
Yes. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everybody click the like button. We want to hit the like button. All. Thank you. That was fun. Good guy. I got to hang with him like 3 or 4 years ago when I went to Super Booth. Before COVID, all that stuff. And it was a very nice visit. And I look forward to seeing him and Bernie and all the other European family that I have met a little. See you guys in I guess, May. So that would be fun. So, SabrePigs, the library by Tim Saberwolf Dale is available. It is only $23. So for the amount of work, as you can see, each one of these has macro knobs set up and real-time controls for filtering and the effects and all this stuff for 150 patches, plus all the time to make 50 bonus patches inside of the Unify version. It's wonderful. Great library. So very, very much worth the investment. Less than the price of a nice dinner somewhere. And now you have a library for your life to work with, for your musical productions to call upon. Great. So very, very, very cool library. We're very glad to have it. I want to point out, we also have a couple other libraries we've been releasing. The Dunes of Arrakis by our friends at Subsonic Arts, Fred Nongot, with all these really, really cool scenes. Whole different vibe. This is using Dune 3. So you need to have Dune 3 for the Dunes of Arrakis to work. The cool, unique thing with this library is Fred took the time to work with image editing, artificial intelligence programs and software to create really cool artwork that matches each patch. So when you say weirding modules, what would that look like as a picture? You know, just listen to it for a minute. And when you're ready, you click this. I think there's a battle skirmish about to happen or something. So, you know, really, really fun usurpation. So inspired by the Frank Herbert Dune universe, at the end of the live stream, we'll spend a little bit of time with Signs of Life SE. This is a 300 patch library I have created that started with ambient samples that I recorded when I was in Costa Rica 4 years ago. I'm really happy, by the way, my daughter is here for the weekend, and it's so lovely when she is here. So my heart is just beaming happy. I made chocolate chip pancakes for us for breakfast, which I haven't made in probably 3 or 4 years for her for breakfast. So we had a nice chocolate chip pancake reunion, you know. But then I took those environmental sounds and I put them into pads and synth sounds in the actual samples. When you call up the rain pad, this is synth sounds with environmental sounds combined at a sample level. This library requires only UniFi, so you don't need any other plugins for this library to work. Came out so nice. And then I did a follow-up library. This library originally was released for Omnisphere 2. This is the release, the special edition version for, I don't know, where'd my SC go? It should be there. Huh. Anyway, but the Signs of Radioactive Life has the bonus library I did for Omnisphere. I've been making follow-up libraries like that. We'll be making a couple patches. I plan to have 25 bonus patches, and this library will be released to all of you as a free update to this library on this coming Thursday. In fact, some people asked me to do action planners, so Midnight Breakdown. So all sorts of fun stuff. But we got to break off for a minute here and talk about new plugins, because there's been a very active week when it comes to new plugins. So I'm going to hit init, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to load up a master patch, just the Optimizer Lite. It just gives us a little bit, sounds just a little bit better. You can do this, and that way when you call up your plugins, I'll give you an example. So let's go over here and let's call up the first synth to show you is Cherry Audio. Our friends there have, CHERRY, have released a new synth along with all their other synths, the PS3300. This is a faithful recreation of the Korg PS3300 from way back in the day. This is a very unique synthesizer to have in software form. They worked with a museum that owns a 3300 to carefully model it to have the same character. A percentage, I believe, of the sales is going to that museum for the sales for, I don't know if it's for a period of time or for, let's see here, but you can go to the cherryaudio.com website. I'll close this for a second so you can see the website. And it's only $49 right now, which is great. Its retail is $69. And it was released in the 70s, and they talk about all the unique architecture. One of the things that's unique with it is that it's able to create and play actually. There's not a note of polyphony. It plays every note at once. So you can call up a patch. Very cool character. By the way, here is without my mastering, just so you know. That's without. It just has a little bit more presence thanks to the compressor and just the smallest amount of EQ, like 0.6 dB of high end and 0.5. So it's not like it's like re-changing the sound. Just makes it sound a little bit nicer. It's like if we were running through nice Neve amplifiers and so forth, how Neve does this really cool thing to sound. I'm trying to kind of like recreate that a little bit. So that's all it is. It doesn't re-change the character massively, but it gives it just right. But you can literally play every note. No polyphony count out. It doesn't break up and like start. In fact, you could play all notes on your keyboard, and I believe it was. It doesn't run out of polyphony, so that's not an issue with the 3300. Also, as you can see, each one of these big square areas is the same for these first three because these are the three oscillators, engines per se, if you want to call it, but they had modulation generators, the controls for the filters and so forth, each independently. So each one had its own filters and so forth. Then you could route over here for the mixing section. They added some additional things in here for chorus, echo, and reverb. So you can turn on the reverb. So they have things beyond what the 3300 didn't have reverb inside of it. The other thing that's really cool is it has temperament adjustment. So each note can be set to its own temperamental scales and so forth. Because of the interface, you can click the focus. Let me see here. Where's the focus? Transparency. Focus. Just click where it says focus. Thank you. And now you can like use over here to navigate and see everything in greater detail. So you can see what is involved and what's in here. It's basically a semi-modular in that you've got patch points as well as it's routed up to do things until you break the patch points. But there's a whole lot of great patches. Now, one thing I noticed with this is that the character doesn't have a lot of low end. And I was like, well. But if you go back and watch videos from 15 years ago on YouTube, the 3300 doesn't have a lot of low end. So that's the character of the synth. It's more this mid-range present. The basses are nice, but they don't really have that like sub-octave. It's not there, but that's the way it is on a 3300. So they were accurate to what that filter's great. There's different types. A more radical. So it's got its own character, personality. They're not trying to make it like it is what a 3300 would sound like if you were to play one. Again, it's not a polyphony thing. It's not like 12 voices of polyphony. You can. It all plays because this was during a time when they hadn't figured out polyphony and circuits and computers doing the voicing, allocation, and so forth. So Korg made this thing to where it basically had a card for every note on the keyboard. So every note would play. So it was very, very cool. So it's a great synth. They've done a very nice job recreating it. Right? So, as always, I recommend everybody download the demos of anything before you buy it. There's a demo version you can download to try out. It works for 30 days for free, so you can download it. That's kind of the new model that everybody does, which I think is really nice. It doesn't like cause white noise to explode at you every now and then and stuff like that. But try these out. Make sure that you connect with it, that you want to get under the skin. We're getting to the point where so many of us have so many plugins. You know, make sure it speaks to you and it's like a pet you want to adopt, not just like something you just have to have because it comes out. Because in a week with 3 synthesizers, not everybody's going to buy all 3 synthesizers, right? So which one do you want? Well, download the 3 I'm going to show you and play with them a little bit and see which one really like goes, oh, I want to get more into this, you know, type of thing. So Cherry Audio has done a great job doing a very nice recreation of the 3300. Next up, GeForce. Our friends there have released a new synth that has gotten a lot of acclaim because it is approved by Tom Oberheim to be a legitimate clone of the Obi. It's got all the parameters and settings and capabilities of the original OBX. In fact, there's some patches in it from the OBX. So if I go over here and go OBX, there's the GeForce OBX. Here it is, and it's lovely. It's a little soft compared to our... It almost sounds too good. The OBX can't sound quite that pretty. Part of the reason is because they put in a lot of extra time. The delay has modulation, the reverb has modulation, so you can do some of that really cool magical. Hear the reverb and delay, how it has all this lovely motion and stuff. So those effects have been added to it to make it so if we go here to filter, lovely, great programming. This is using Xmod, which is a unique feature of the OBX. And by using Xmod, by turning it on, it basically takes one oscillator and feeds it into the other one. Here's the engine without the effects. Hear all that stuff? That's because of Xmod. Turn it off, and it's just 2 oscillator synth. They also give you sync, where oscillator 2 is the dude giving you the synthesis. Right? But Xmod is using oscillator 1. Which is very interesting. So they've using... Now this plugin can definitely get into the low end. One thing to notice is that they do have 4 macro knobs, and they just are 1, 2, 3, 4 here. If you use the little patch library button, this calls up an interface where the 4 macro knobs are named. So you can see, you can definitely get into the low frequency register. There's a lot there to play with. If you go over here and you type init, there is an init patch. One thing to point out, just so you're aware, this works for the filter cutoff. Even when it's at max, it's not at max. You have to bring up the modulation and make sure to see the filter, make sure the setting is max. Now, you know that brightness? And that's with the filter cutoff at max. That's the way the OBX worked. But the modulation was adding. Right? And those of you curious, because it was the synth used, I believe, for the track. If we turn off init, if you don't have to say it because they have it at the top of the list, but there is a patch called No Rush, which does the very famous resonant sweeping Monday Warrior Minutes. I can't sing, but anyway. And you have aftertouch here. To play with, so it's a great synth. Again, download the demo, play with it. Also, if you go to the patches and you just type OB1, help me. You have things like the steel drums for like what was used in What Have You Done For Me Lately for the that kind of a vibe and all that kind of stuff. Again, play with it. It's really, really fun. This is available from GeForce Software. So go to geforcesoftware.com and that will take you to see the Oberheim OBX. It's available for 59.99 euros. How does it compare to the other OBXs out there? I'm not going to do an exhaustive. Let's do this. Let's call this up. Let's call up the init. There is an OBX included in UniFi, as you guys know. And there's also the one from Arturia. So let's go. Let's see. What kind of sound should we do? Let's try to find like some sort of really bright synth. Say poly. Let's say bright. There we go. And let's close and maybe no effects. Let's go over here, say new layer, new Arturia. Did I load the OBX into here? I might not have the OBX. I have all of the Arturia synths. I might not have. I don't think I'm set to show you let's go OBX. We do have the OBXD, which is included inside of UniFi. We'd have to do the panning. Let's see if I can make a pitchy G brass sounding fast. Bring up filter. Then we want to use the pitch envelope. So I have too much to bring down a little bit and up an octave. Maybe a little bit less filter snap. We need some keyboards. So I'm snappier. Okay, so they're brighter and buzzier. If I was the one thing I will say, the OBX from GeForce, it didn't have as much like raw kind of like hardware character that I would like to find in a synth. I feel a bit of that vibe. My favorite emulations are done by SoftTube, by the way, if you wanted to know what I prefer to, like if you go to SoftTube and you call it like the Model 72, this isn't the OBX, but this type of this character, I wish there's a little bit more. When you play this, you just feel, I mean, I have a Moog Voyager sitting over here next to me, and this, it feels like it's got that like energy, you know, in a way. I don't pick that up as much from the OBX as I wish I did. You know, it's just kind of tame in a way. They do have a vintage knob, which will change some of the parameters. But this wants to rip your head off and like. So I wish I had a little bit more of that. It sounds really nice, and the patches are great, and the filter is great, and so forth. I do wish it had just a little bit. I mean, it's killer synth. But it doesn't have that, like, take no prisoners energy that I've played an OBX before, and the OBX in hardware form does not want to take any prisoners. It is just absolutely in your face, boom, right? I wish it had just a little bit more of that kind of salty attitude to it. It's a little bit too pretty, if that can be a case, but it's not a bad thing at all. I mean, in a track that's going to sound incredible. So I don't take anything away from what GeForce did. There's all sorts of variants to character. That's why I say download the demos, play with them, see what you think, and so forth. Right? That, right? Sounds great. Okay. So GeForce's OBX is a great addition. Really nice. Now the next synth I'm going to show you is one that's got a bit of a controversy to it. It's from a rather new company that's done some audio effects, and this was their new flagship synthesizer. It's from Minimal Audio. It's called Current, and they kind of messed up a little bit with the release because they wanted to do it as a subscription basis, and I got it early. I've had it for a couple of weeks, and they didn't tell us the pricing of it. And nobody that did videos that came out knew that it was going to be subscription based, and then all of a sudden it's subscription based, and so they've had to go back on that. And the pricing they're still working on. I believe they have a buy it once price. Okay, thank you for that. I have the way to too much hassle. I have to get off my chair. I love to go over and play with my Moog Voyager. It's, having something that's sitting there breathing and doing its thing is really, really cool. One thing right off the bat to tell you guys with the synthesizer, it plays weird in UniFi when you first call it up. Sounds great when you play notes. The second you let up on the notes, it stops. Goes up and it goes away. And it's not supposed to do that. The reason it does that is they're emulating a feature that was inside of Serum. They emulated a little bit too closely. In Serum, there is a parameter to turn it off. Inside of Currents, there is not. So if you go to Serum, Serum will do the same thing in UniFi when you first call it up, where it stops all the audio when clock is zeroed and stops. But if you go to the global page, there is a thing right here that says silence, note, and effect tails when host transport stops. You can turn that off, then click the little preferences button to save an update of the preferences so it never does it again. And now Serum plays without canceling the tails. They don't have that parameter, and I told them over a week ago, and they were not able to fix this. And hopefully they will fix this at some point. What you can do as in the interim is you go to UniFi, and you go to the transport page and you set it instead of MIDI quick stop, because what this does, clock starts, and when it's taking it up on your notes, it stops. So if we go back to minimal, you'll notice it plays. When the clock stops, kills it. Just go over here to the clock and say manual start and stop. And now, hey, everything rings out like it's supposed to. Right? So you have to do this before it sounds good in UniFi. In your DAW, you won't notice this because it doesn't, when your DAW is just sitting there, it still is sending clock information. And so this particular behavior doesn't happen. But since we are doing synchronized between all of the plugins and stuff, and we do clock that way. Now, this is obviously not an emulation. This is trying to go for something new. It has multiple engines, subsampler, granular, wavetables, all available for each of the different oscillators to work with. So when you go to each one of these guys, you can choose what type of synthesis it's working with. They're going to be doing a subscription kind of basis thing, but I guess they're going to change it to a rent to own. So it's still a little heavy on the e-commerce side. The benefits that they have that make them feel they can do this is that when you go to the effects, these effects that are built in are the effects that are retail plugins that they sell at their website. So they think, if you go to the Swarm Reverb, this is the same reverb you can buy as an effect from Minimal Audio. It's inside of here. It's not just reverb. It's the Swarm Reverb, which is a plugin you can own from them. And so because of the way that they've designed this, that they want to do the e-commerce kind of a direction, which most people are not a fan of. So I wish them good luck. I'm not going to say much on that. When you go over here to the stream page, this is all built-in e-commerce stuff for the different preset libraries and stuff that they'll be bringing out. They have different categories of sounds you can choose and download that are free. So if you go over here and you can first play a demo of the sound. Go, I like that, and then download it if you haven't. If you like, I just downloaded it, so now I can load it. And now I'm playing it. So they definitely have some cool ideas and implementations that are unique to be able to play the patch. It's streaming off their website to play all these things, I believe. Click load, and now I can go to the synth engine and it's playing. So it has some unique things it can do sound-wise. Has some sort of chord memory thing for the notes. I'm not sure how to set that up, but oh, chord. So you have all these. I haven't studied this enough to know everything you can do, but as you can see, different notes are playing. Different chords. So it's got a lot going on. Their website, let's go over here, say minimal audio current. That is found right here. It's just we live in a world where, you know, e-commerce isn't really caught on to be something that people like to be attached to. So they're trying to do a thing where they want to release continued content over time and make it available to everybody. I don't know if it's a convolution reverb. I believe it's more of a synthesized reverb because they have some really unique parameters. Here, let me find a patch that's kind of init. Anyway, it's minimal.audio. So here's an example, for example, of going to the engine, to the effects. Distortion filter. So this delay is doing like a reverb effect. This has the spacing. Scatter. Let's say eighth note. Less feedback. Got a duck built into it. I still hear reverb. It's really interesting. But if you turn that off, there's no reverb. So it sounds really good. I don't like the business model either, but they're trying to figure out something so that they can make a living, continue supporting and bringing out new things. The best way to do it is just to do updates that have new things, and you just pay more for certain things that you want, so people can pick and choose which things they want. As it is right now, you have to pay something and you'll get all of these effects and all these capabilities. I don't know. It's complicated to do that balance, you know? And well, they had to make an apology video and all sorts of stuff. So I haven't gotten into the whole thing. But it has some serious capabilities. This is not one to sleep on, especially if you're more into wavetable modern synthesis like Vital and Serum. It's in that camp of doing cool, interesting. So that is a third synthesizer. So we got the PS3300 from Cherry Audio. We got the OBX. I mean, heavy weights this week. This has been a crazy week. OBX from GeForce and Current from Minimal.audio. I have a couple freebies for you. One of them that I love very, very much that you must pick up on if you want. Let me show you this way. Let's go to like maybe a drum groove. The drums, let's do the combination stuff up here. Here's Signs of Life SE. Okay. And let's just go right here and go LA-2A tube compressor. Turn this up. You can torture audio and it sounds freaking beautiful. And this is free. Without, with. So you can really stress audio to get really cool characteristics, very similar to the hardware version from this. Then there's a suite you can buy if you want the even bigger version, which has a high pass filter. You can bring this down to let even more energy in and some other things that are unique to it. But this is free. And the way to get this, I'll have to put links. These links were in the newsletter at my website. I shared them. I have that right here. So if we go Universal Audio for free, I'll put it into the video chat, and this will also go into the at the end of the stream. I'll include it. But Universal Audio is being very generous because they want you guys to spend a lot of money with them, which once you start down this path, I'm warning you, it's a rabbit hole because their stuff is really good. And you will want more of these plugins and stuff that they've made available for Spark so you can get them to work. But get it for free. You use their software to install it. They've got some great synths. They've got so many plugins. I've bought like so many of their things, UAD. These are all Spark enabled now. So I could go over here to something like where's the, by the way, if you want to see the actual gray compressor, the full version that's in the suite, this is what it looks like. It's got similar characteristics with a high pass filter. I can bring this down to let more low end energy in, right? You don't have that in the free version, but otherwise it's pretty much the same. You can change between compression and limiting. Limiting is how you get that really snappy, tippy top. It doesn't do quite as much up compression of the energy that's softer, whereas compression does. Hear how this brings up the low end? This is since it sit a little bit better, but it's a free effect and it's great stuff. I can't speak highly enough of Universal Audio and their DSP effects. They're some of my favorite effects when I start writing music and stuff. They're my go-tos for a lot of things, especially for the compressors and their EQ. The Pultec EQ. Let's go over here and say Pultec. Let's do the 3C is a good one. And it just, actually let's go to the 5. Pultec PL. Because this gives you the ability to do the. And then it has a dip. So you can like make a smiley curve. So here's without. With. Lovely, lovely stuff. So highly recommended. I have some other stuff. Oh, wait, I think I did the right thing. So there's another effect I want to show you guys quickly, and that is from Inner Pit, actually from Auburn, AUBURN. They have a really cool pitch stretching plugin, that pitch shifter. It can shift it up 2 octaves. If you favor towards the transients, it's great. You have stereo control, max, soft. It has a really cool delay. And EQ, so you can really warp the character. It also has a left-right shift, which allows you to do a stereo, like one side's detuned up and one side's tuned down. Really cool to get this out of this for free. So this is from Interpitch. They also have a suite, and their effects are very good. And it tunes down too equally really well. So you can totally change, even the format is great. Really cool. And it's free. So the link for this is right here. For Auburn Sounds, they're involved in this like video. I don't know who this is, but if you go to here is the link for the free Interpitch, and then they have quite a few other effects that you can get as a suite, and there's a free edition you can download, as well as the full version is only $29. And so if you need really cool real-time pitch shifting and stuff like that, Panjament and Renegade, all these other effects are equally interesting and cool. I've had some interesting effects with some of these. So AUBURN, like Panjament is this really cool. You can tilt the EQ. It's got reverb. I don't know if I have this on. Here's your stereo imaging. So you can break down the chip like you're doing like, chip mods. You can move this in the stereo field. Again, I haven't played with all this stuff, but the fill. And you have different curvatures. Crazy stuff. So if you want to get into some outside effects and stuff, I've had some really interesting sessions with their other stuff that they've made. Gorillion is another one that's interesting for. It's a live changer. Do they have presets? I don't know if they have, one thing that's nice with UniFi is if there's presets, you can click on the little bullet right here and change program. Yeah, here we go. So we can do so it's for modifying. I could actually put this on my voice. Let's do this. Let's go over to Logic. I don't know if I might not have these effects available in Logic because I don't think I installed this at this. Let me see. Go audio units. Yeah, I didn't add this into. I added them to UniFi, but I hadn't added them to Logic for the live stream for the other things. But they have some cool effects. But Interpitch is a really cool pitch shifter for free. We're out of time. I don't have time to do any programming. Maybe we'll do one patch. Let's do one patch, okay? For these bonus stuff for Signs of Life. Any questions? I should check to see what you guys are. I've kind of like been on my new plugin tangent and haven't checked to see what you guys are saying. Oh, how I set up my live stream. Yeah, that would be like an interesting thing to do. So those are really cool effects for free. So make sure you check out both of those. Yes, it's hard to not go down the rabbit hole of universal audio plugins. They're great. I've spent literally thousands of dollars because I at one point had universal audio hardware cards sitting here, and that actually broke, and I need to get a new universal audio hardware at some point. Yeah, I had a sparking this up in the plugin. Yeah. Yeah, that's some of the challenges. How much is Signs of Life? Signs of Life is at our website right here, and it is at its introduction price. It's a $59 library, but it's only $29.50 right now. So it is. I decided, by the way, it was supposed to be only till Sunday for this price, but because we're this close to Halloween, and I'm going to have a big sale at Halloween, I'll let these guys stay on sale at their existing prices. They won't be cheaper during Halloween, but I will keep them at their introduction prices while we have a Halloween sale and other things go on sale and so forth like that. So I'm not going to stop the sale of any of these 3 libraries until after Halloween on November 1st. They will all come to a end of their sale. Yeah, so Signs of Life is a library of both drum grooves and then all the environmental sounds and then all the synth sounds and the pad sounds. And it goes all sorts of really cool places. And then, as I mentioned, in the Omnisphere version, which we will call up right now. Let's see. Here, let's see, Omnisphere. Omnisphere, and call up the standalone Omnisphere. For those who don't know, Omnisphere is available as a standalone, so you don't have to call up a DAW in order to play and enjoy it. As you can see, there was Signs of Life, and then I released another library called Signs of Radioactive Life, which had all of these sounds that were, let's do this. Let's turn this down so we just hear this. Let me go to OBS real quick to make sure that you're hearing this. Yeah. So let's find a patch that we want to try to recreate. How about this? That's a little bit more fun. Okay, so this is using Cyclone, a sine wave, and then Big Bertha, right? So to do this kind of work when you're kind of like programming and comparing, what you do is isolate each of the elements. This is a 3 oscillator patch inside of Omnisphere. So I hear a filter opening. I can cheat by actually going in here and seeing there's EQ. Here's without the effects. Right? So I want to create similar to that using a modified resonant type of a filter. So now I can turn this down and go, okay, I need to use Rain Cloud Cyclone. So now I go find that patch over here inside of Unify, Rain Cloud Cyclone, right here. Right? So I first want to get the sample to start later because that way then there's a whole lot of filter action happening, so I want the filter to be up. And let's do this. Let's mute this for a second, turn back on Omnisphere. Here it's got resonance. It's got that kind of a sound. That's because the filter has resonance. So let's turn up resonance. Right? So that's one element. Then we need to add another element. And instead of being empty layer, I'm going to speed this up a little bit by going down here to Guru Sampler. And I want to find something that's kind of like, let's see here. maybe sine heaven, because that's a sine wave, right? So it needs to be down an octave. So let's go down an octave. And then the other element that was in the Omnisphere version was like a detuned synth. So we can go over here again. Let's go to Guru Sampler. And I'm going to use Klamath. I happen to know that Battleborn and Klamath are the two big like unison patches inside of the Guru Sampler from the libraries. Right? That's big in unison. Now, if we go to Omnisphere, and we play only layer B. Let's turn up the volume so we can hear it. Let's see. Mute. So he's doing the opposite. He's starting bright. And it's actually a little bit more of a wobbly. Doesn't have quite as much low end. So because of the billions of times I've used these sounds, I happen to know that for that to be what I would get, I want to use a different sound. So instead of the patch from Del Norte, I'm going to go back to MegaMagic pads. And there is a unison in here called Battleborn it has low end, but doesn't have as much as Klamath. And then we want to start dark, but we're going to start bright with the filter. Have it go down. I don't think I want quite as much low end, so we can cheat inside of Unify, and I can go to the audio effects in the insert effect right here, and I'm gonna go to EQ, filter max, and turn on a high pass filter. I don't think it's quite as resonant. It's almost more noise, right? Let's compare that now. I think a little bit slower on the fade in. Mute, and then let's go over here to Omnisphere and turn this up. And I'm using unison here. And I have the depth up to where there's about 3 or 4 notes of that playing. So if I really wanted to nail that, let's do this. Let's duplicate. And let's take this one down an octave. And let's have even less low end on this one. And let's do this again. We'll say duplicate this patch again. Let's pan it left and right. Let's have the envelopes be a little bit different. And I'm gonna have a little pitch LFO on one side. All right, let's put this all together. That's kind of cool. Now let's compare that to the Omnisphere version. So let's go over here. Signs of radioactive life. Go down here to starting to grow on you. Let's turn this down. Let's listen to the Omnisphere version. Okay, and let's compare to where we are inside of Unify. Let's let this get brighter. And I actually am going to add an EQ to here and crank some high end. Cool. I'm not trying, you can't nail, I mean, I could if I really wanted to spend like a long time trying to nail it. I really am not trying to do that. I just want to get the vibe of an existing radioactive patch and like find a variation I can bring over to UniFi. So this, I'll show you one more trick that we have inside of UniFi is that I'm an octave too high. So if you go to the keyboard, I don't know if you know this, but there is another transpose parameter right here that's global for all of the layers all at once. So I can take this down. So what's nice with this global is that will transpose all of these layers without me having to go to each one and transpose them. Since I want to shift the whole keyboard, I'm going to use this. And then I'm going to go save, because I'm close enough. So this is Signs of Radioactive Life. This is a texture. I'm just going to call it Growing on You. Instead of starting to grow on you, it's going to be called Growing on You. Okay, and let's go. This is a texture, and then I'll fill in all this other stuff after the fact, not during the live stream. I don't think you guys need to see me typing away, but now we have another texture to add to the So here's the version inside of UniFi, and then here's the version inside of Omnisphere. So we can compare. I like the Omnisphere version better. I'm sorry, I like the UniFi. This is a little soft on the right hand. If I do that same thing inside of UniFi, we're just going to turn it down just a little bit. So there it is inside of UniFi, and here it is playing just an open D chord at 0 dB inside it. Yeah. I might like bring down my high end just a little bit so it's not quite so. I mean, this sound has a lot of harsh character stuff to go into it, but now. Yeah. And let's say that we want that fall to be slower. When it goes up, now it's going to come down even slower. So that is one way to make patches. There's so many different ways to make patches. I like to challenge myself. Actually, I'll show you just a second, this little teaser if you guys want for what we're working on for Halloween. We're working on Creaturesque version 2, volume 2. It will be only for UniFi. You won't need Omnisphere for this version. And let's do this. Let me go over here. I haven't even chopped these up yet, but I'll show you some of the source I am making. That's really, really cool. Go to the desktop. Just as a quick bonus. It's just a quick bonus because you guys, I love to show you guys what I'm working on as we're doing stuff sometimes. There's the Creature Choir. We'll show you that. And then I have the Wandering Moans. And I'm using, let's see, create new tracks. So the Wandering Moans is both a dry and a reverb processed that sound like this. cool. You'll have these on the keyboard and these really cool soundscapes I'm making in the left hand to play. They're just really cool. Isn't that cool? So I'm working on these. And then the Creature Choir, she did these singing things that were just so cool. And then I have processed them with some really fun techniques. And we're going to have a choir of Kathy singing all these different pitches. I'm going to map these. These will be samples across the keyboard. Isn't that cool? So all sorts of cool things we're doing. I'm having just some very, very fun times with sound design at this time to build the library. So we got 2 weeks to get it all put together, but it's going to be, you have no idea what's coming. It's really, really fun. So always new libraries, always working on stuff. That's what I get to do for a full-time job. Thanks to you guys being customers that support what we do and buy libraries, and I get to keep making sounds. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So there's 3 libraries we have at our website. There's the new one from Tim Dale. SabrePigs is awesome for Pigments. Dunes of Arrakis is killer for Dune 3. Signs of Life SE if you own UniFi. Oh, thank you, Andy. My pleasure, man. Yeah. Yeah, Kathy's doing some really interesting things. I don't get this big. Yeah, so well, Halloween. It's just a fun time to make something kind of in a different vibe than, you know, it's not. We've got the ambient libraries and the dreamy libraries and the aggressive libraries and stuff. We get to do scary in October. It's really fun. Yeah, click the like button if you'd like. I appreciate it. I'm going to go hang out with my daughter, and she's going to go back to school on next Monday. So we got a little respite before I get back into diving into more. Well, maybe I'll do stuff when she goes to sleep and stuff. Anyway, thank you all for joining and support. Shout outs. Where are you guys at? I'll do a shout out. Hey, Jim. Good. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed tonight. We always have fun here. There's new things always to show. I love it. Jeff Schmidt. Jeff, my friend, you missed a lot, but luckily the live stream shows up in a few minutes for you to watch. Technovember, maybe that's not a bad idea. We're doing Rocktober, Scarytober. Yeah, shout out from Portland, Oregon. Out from Portland. Everybody be safe out there. Be creative. Have a great week. We'll see you back here in a week for the live stream. Who knows what will be coming out between now? Well, I know a few things that are working to come out maybe. So we'll see what shows up and all that kind of good stuff. But thank you again for your support. We appreciate it. And I hope this was helpful to know all the tricks that we keep coming up with and finding. And thank you, Tim Dale, so much for joining us in this live stream for a little interview section. That was very helpful. For showing us some of your tips and pigments. It's really, really fun. And yeah, we'll see you soon, okay? So keep being creative,